And welcome back, everybody, to another exciting episode of the TV show. This week, Thanksgiving week, and I'm always thankful to see Rhea Hughes. And I'm also Angelo Cataldi's here. So, guys, we got a request. And before we get into this request, I just want to tell you something. This is my area of expertise. If I have very few, but one of them is Hallmark style Christmas movies because in 2015, I not only wrote one, I acted in one. And I got to see my writing partner, Brian Herzlinger, also the writer, co-writer and director of Pauly. He directed this movie, and I got to see it from the inside out. And let me tell you something, not as fun when you're making them as you are when you're watching them. It's the opposite of kids. The kids, the only good part is making them. But with Hallmark movies, the making of them not as fun. We filmed in Minnesota, and yeah, in January, because that's you have to have snow in these things, and there's only two ways to get snow. The first way is to digitally add it, which is what you do if you have a lot of money, or if you don't have a lot of money, you go to Minnesota in January. And we got a town to actually keep up their Christmas decorations. So the whole town looked like we did the Christmas decorations. Wow. We got to come in, and a couple of things I remember about this. One, we had a night shoot where it was like -5, below zero.
God, no.
Rhea, it got so cold, my iPhone shut off to protect itself.
No, because it does it when it's hot.
It does it
when it's cold.
I didn't know it did it till it's cold, till I filmed a Christmas movie in Minnesota where the thing shut down and it said, you know what, for my own good, I'm leaving. My soul is leaving my body. I can't say exactly who, but there was two people on the shoot that hated each other, like would not even sit with each other. And they had
I love this.
Yeah. They had they wouldn't even sit at lunchtime with each other, and they had to kiss and make lovey-dovey eyes at one another. And I'm
going back to watch the movie to figure out who it was.
I'll tell you off. Yeah. So you can figure it out. If you watch the movie, there's only two people that kiss in the movie, so you can figure it out.
And I'll tell you what else, I'm moving to Minnesota because apparently they can't use cell phones there. They locked up.
Well, you know what? Maybe the new ones will go even longer. This was a few years ago. And I'll just tell you one aspect of this. Anytime you watch a movie and you're sitting there going, why didn't they do X? Why didn't they do Y? It is always time and money related. Always. Mm-hmm. We had a scene where one of the characters borrows a snowmobile. And there's a second scene where it's just one line where they go, don't worry, we'll bring this back later, because they leave it there. But I wanted it to be known that they're going to bring it back later. They didn't have time to film that scene. So now we're doing like voiceover work. And I write Brian and the producer, and I go, please, for the love of God, just get them saying, we'll come back for this later, so that it's not out of the movie. I get a call and they're like, we forgot to get it. We didn't get it, but we don't have enough money to bring everybody back for another round of re-records. So, but don't worry, Jay, no one will be upset about this. Rhea, if you go to the website right now on Amazon and you look at the reviews, there is no less
all
than
in there.
25 reviews going, why aren't they bringing back the snowmobile? Why are they just leaving the snowmobile there?
Stop.
Yeah.
Stop. We need the name and where we could see this film so we can mark it.
So it's called Love Always Santa. It's actually, of all the stuff I've ever did, it's the highest rated on Amazon. You can rent it on Amazon.com, like on Amazon Prime, or if you have the Hallmark channel, like if you subscribe to it, it's one of the Hallmark movies on there. So either way there. But if you go to Amazon,
Love Always Santa.
Love Always Santa.
Okay.
You'll see a beardless, chubby me as the best friend.
Wow.
And you'll also see the snowmobile scene and 20 reviews going, why didn't they go there? It took so much effort not to dial in and go, like, respond to everyone. I wrote that scene. I wrote it. I swear I wrote it. All right,
Jay, let me interview you for a minute. So now you see the finished product, which you were part of in the writing and the performing.
Yes.
Were you happy? Did it make you feel Christmassy?
It did. I was very happy with the result, Angelo. When you do these things, you don't know what they're going to do. right? You don't know like what's going to happen with the script because a lot of problems have to be solved over the course of production. Like at one point, we had a scene that took place in a snow fair where there was a what do you call it? Ferris wheel, and we also had a carousel there. And they said you could have the carousel or the Ferris wheel, and we had to choose and rewrite that day. And I didn't know if it was going to work, like if all the pieces would fit together. But then with editing, it actually worked and all the pieces fit together. So moments like that are absolutely beautiful. I love that.
Because the thing that bothers me, and I know it's a lot with Hallmark and Lifetime.
Yeah.
There are no end now to Christmas movies year round.
Right.
And
yes.
I think they have oversaturated the market to the point now where I don't want to see a Christmas movie at Christmas time. There's too many of them. You know, the great Christmas movies, It's a Wonderful Life, Elf, A Christmas Story, Love Actually, Bad Santa. They're a good Christmas movie. I don't think I've watched one, Rhea, in at least a decade because there's too many.
But Ange, I will tell you, you're alone because I actually I wanted to look up the demographics because we know clearly that Hallmark movies are targeted. You know, our demographics when we were at WIP, men 25-54. Complete opposite with Hallmark, women 25-54. In 2021, Nielsen did a thing. 80 million people watched those movies.
Wow.
And I worked with somebody. I work with a man at WIP who admits on the air that he watches Hallmark movies. It's show to camera. I'm not saying anything. You know, he's a little strange, but he watches them. But and people watch them.
And I'll tell you, they know how to design these things from the ground up. There are tricks that you do. Each act break before the commercial tells its own little story because they know people watch these while they're doing other things. So they want you to have some sense of satisfaction, even if you only watch 2 commercial breaks, that you're going to get some completion to it and you can leave. These things are designed to be watched while you're wrapping presents. They're brilliant. Which brings me to whether or not this request that we got from one of our listeners. Now, I got to be honest, I farmed this out to Rhea. I probably should have watched it because I've written one of these things, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. It is a movie called Hot Frosty, which sounds like something you pay extra for at a strip club, but it is not. How much for the Hot Frosty, miss? Okay. It is about a snowman who comes to life and he's super hot. And is there anything else to the story besides that, Rhea?
Well, so when Jay sent this, it was Sunday morning. I got it early. You sent it at midnight, like on Saturday. I wake up super early. And the Eagles weren't playing till 8:20. So I had some time to kill while I was putting up Christmas decorations in my house. I did exactly what you said it was. So I said, well, this is going to be dumb. It's Lacey Chambert. Is that how you pronounce it?
Chambert, from Mean Girls.
And from Party of Five. Everybody knows her mostly probably from Party of Five. And she stars in dozens of these movies. It's pretty much how so she's, of course, a widowed woman who's gorgeous. And this snowman comes to life. But of course, he's hot and naked because he was an ice sculpture snowman. But here's what I will say about this one, because I've watched some of these movies. Before I got streaming, you know, you flip around and you go, this looks dumb. I'll watch it while I'm drinking some wine and wrapping presents. It was actually, I will say this, it was silly. It was harmless. It's not, the title is a little bit misleading in Hot Frosty. Yes, is he a hot guy? But the rest of the time he's in clothes. After the opening scene where he's running around naked because now he's alive.
Right.
He's actually, he's kind of like, in the mold of Jeremy Allen White, you know, it's the hair that's a little long and kind of goofy looking, but attractive. He's amusing. I have to say, it's not your typical brooding hunk. And, you know, I'm just going to make her love me by just staring at her really meanly all the time. Right. He's totally goofy. The sheriff in town and his deputy, you'll know them. It's Craig. I wrote their names out. Craig Robinson.
Oh, I love Craig Robinson. Yeah.
Yes. And Joe Lutrulio?
Yeah, from Brooklyn Nine-Nine and The State.
He's hysterical. It's like totally harmless, adorable fun. And I have to say, if you are a Hallmark Christmas movie person, you will like this movie.
And I think it's every woman's fantasy, a super hot guy with zero baggage because he just literally came to life.
Correct. Yeah. Absolutely. And he fixes up her whole house. Listen, it got 85% of Rotten Tomatoes. So the people who enjoy these kind of movies loved it. The guy who stars in, I think his name is Dustin Milligan. He was amusing. He wasn't just, most of the guys in these movies, they got all kinds of, this guy has no baggage, and he was kind of fun.
Well, that is,
Jay, I did not watch the film, Hot Frosty. And in a historic twist, I couldn't make it through the trailer.
Wow.
It was 2 minutes.
Really?
Because it is a heaping pile of garbage to me that you made Frosty into a hard body. It's just disgusting. The whole, it proves my point. There's nothing left to, they've explored every niche, every cranny in
and you're missing the target audience. You're missing the target audience for this. And here's what I'm going to tell you. You and Jay watched a lot of movies I'll never watch. I'm like, too sad, too dark, too weird, too like out there. These movies are for people who just want to have something on. No one's getting murdered except for in like Jay's Lifetime movies. And it's just simple fluff. And sometimes you like when I'm in an upset mood, I'll throw on an episode of Modern Family because I just need to laugh.
Yeah, so that's. I will say this though, having written one, I hope they continue to keep making them. But honestly, at this point, as Angelo said, they have explored every aspect of it. If they just found a program like AI that would update the cars and the phones and the fashion, right? But they kept everything else the same. Are you telling me you couldn't put on one from like 2012 that wouldn't be just as satisfying? Exactly. It's not like you'd go, oh, I've seen this one before, because if you've seen one, you've seen all of them. That's my joke in my act. I go, here's the plot of my Christmas movie, and then I just give the generic plot, and everybody goes, wait, does he know that's the plot of every one? I'm like, I do know it's
yes. But it's always a widow. Right. It's always a widow.
One last thing, Jay.
Yeah.
Jay, one last thing. Since this is Thanksgiving week, if you want to see a great movie locked into a holiday, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Yeah. Great movie.
Now you're talking about a worthy project. This
100%.
Garbage. That's what you want to watch if you want to get into Thanksgiving spirit.
And you know what? More Thanksgiving movies. There's not enough. There's just 2 trillion Christmas movies, like 4 Thanksgiving movies. Come on, everybody celebrates it. Put out a Thanksgiving movie.
I wish I could remember the name of the one Thanksgiving movie that I watched. It was really good, but it was slightly dark comedy.
Is it Home for the Holidays?
Yes, that's the one where the father takes all the pictures and the sister. I love that movie.
Yeah. So we need more of them. We also need more, Angelo, game show hosts, because we lost one on Saturday. A name that if you are born post 1990, you probably have zero knowledge of who this person was. If you're born prior to 1990, your entire life was basically built around stuff that he did. It's a guy named Chuck Woolery, who was the original host of Wheel of Fortune. And then he went on to host The Love Connection for a million years. Along the way, he did a whole bunch of other different bits. Angelo, television has changed. There is no longer guys like this around. Tell me about Chuck Woolery and tell me about how TV used to be.
Chuck Woolery is my all-time favorite game show host.
Really?
I watched unbelievable number of episodes of Love Connection because I am by nature a very romantic man. And here's the thing. He was so good in that show because he was smarmy.
Yeah,
he was.
Funny.
Yep.
He managed to find a place right in the middle. He was really smarmy. He would love to get into the details of this date they went on. You always knew at the end you're going to find out if they hooked up, right? Yeah. But he was just so good. Then I didn't even know, Jay, that he was the original host of Wheel of Fortune.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
I want to just track for you how the history of game show hosts and how they're going in the wrong direction. All right. So he did Wheel of Fortune. I guarantee you he was great. He was great at every game show he ever did. Pat Sajak, funny guy. a little droll, a little different, but he brought now Ryan Seacrest.
Yeah.
Ryan Seacrest's next amusing remark in his long media history will be his first. He has done nothing except occupy space in everything he touches, and he buys it. And he's trying to be Dick Clark, but even Dick Clark was more entertaining than this guy. He gives you nothing. You understand? Chuck Woolery, the old-time guy who screwed around a little, and those were better than the guys they have now. And Chuck Woolery was the best of all of them. Chuck Woolery, R.I.P., my friend.
The 70s and 80s were the best time for slimy game show hosts. You had Richard Dawkins tongue kissing every woman.
He was my favorite. You would never get away with that today.
No.
But Family Feud is my favorite. I don't know, Angelo, if you'll remember this. Family Feud, I don't know if it started in England, but they had an English version. And when we were over on Willow Street, somebody gave us a VHS tape of a Family Feud in London where, you get to the final round and it's got to be the smartest person in the family and there's 5 questions. And his answer to everything is, attacky. What do you bring to the beach? Attacky. We rewound it and watched it 10 times. We were dying laughing.
Rhea, do you have a favorite? Do you have a favorite game show host currently? Who's your guy now? If you have,
I don't watch them because here's what I'll tell you. I know that who's the Mr. Beast? Is that the YouTube guy?
Yeah, that's the YouTube guy on Amazon. He has a show.
He's supposedly going to do a game show because my son was telling me about.
Yes, he's doing a game show.
$5 million prize.
$5 million prize and about $500 million in lawsuits because of mistreatment behind the scenes. There's a lot of stuff going on with that. Angelo, who's your favorite?
They never change.
I want to contradict everything I said because Family Feud is the one show that actually has the best host it's ever had on right now, and that's Steve Harvey.
Steve Harvey's
great. Hilarious. Is the only reason to watch it because it's overdone now. They've had so many of them. But Steve Harvey is a throwback to when game show hosts actually gave you more than just the game. He's terrific.
I'm going to give you my current favorite is Ken Jennings on Jeopardy. Now, I loved Alex Trebek. But the fact, in what other time period, in what other history of TV has someone been so good at a game show that they made him the host, Angelo? Imagine being so good.
Bad at.
Yeah, I think he's good.
He's so stiff. I, as a stiff man myself, he's stiff. He's very stiff. No, he's not that good.
He gives hope to nerds everywhere that you could one day become the host of a TV show, and I like that about him. All right, so this was late breaking news, Rhea Hughes. I sent this out because we talked a lot about the Oscars on this program, and we talked a lot about how difficult it is to find a host. And it came out just yesterday in the morning that they settled on a host prior to like 3 hours before the show, like they usually do. They got Conan O'Brien this year. I believe this is the first time he's hosting the Oscars. He's hosted the Emmys before. Good choice or bad choice, Rhea?
I was never the biggest fan. I think Angelo likes awkward humor way more than I do.
Right.
So I just never found him but I'll say a lot of the guys I don't find naturally funny. Jimmy Fallon, who's the other one on the other show? I
Jimmy
think
Kimmel, Stephen Colbert.
Jimmy Kimmel. I think I love Stephen Colbert. I will say I am a Stephen Colbert fan. I think he's going to be too smart for the crowd, if that makes any sense.
Like Letterman was a little bit when he did the Uma Oprah.
Yes.
Angelo,
he'll do stuff that goes over people's heads and they'll hate it.
Angelo, you were saying you're not a big fan of it.
It's a terrible choice. It's terrible. First of all, I guarantee you, the people who are producing the Oscars did not see his most recent project, that hideous travel show he did. It was about as funny as a gum infection. Right. And then why he is around, I can't. To me, look, the gold standard in these award show hosts, to me, is Ricky Gervais. because Ricky Gervais didn't even like the people he was
yes, that's why it was great.
And it was absolutely riveting. And he would get off some great jokes. He's brilliant. He's the best of all time. The other three, Johnny Carson,
great.
Bob Hope,
Fantastic.
Billy Crystal.
Billy Crystal. Yep.
Conan O'Brien is not in their league at any. I don't know anything he's done that's funny. And I love awkward humor. He's not that funny.
I love Conan O'Brien. He has been funny since he wrote the Simpsons episode Monorail. He was great on Saturday Night Live. He was great as a talk show host. I actually got to meet Conan O'Brien. I went to see a taping of a show with my friend Kevin Nealon, who was on the show. So we hung out backstage. Dave Merkin, who was a producer on The Simpsons, had just bought the first Tesla any of us had ever seen. So we just went out and looked at his Tesla for 2 hours. Just like dudes do. And then like 3 months later, I guess Conan has a great memory. This is the only time I've ever looked cool. We go to Kevin Nealon's birthday party, and it is packed with celebrities and me. And my wife has come out. She's the one time she could find time to travel is when we're going to a celebrity's house for a birthday party. And we're sitting there, and I hear, Jay! And I turn around. It's Conan O'Brien. And I go, oh, hey, Conan. He remembered who I was 3 months later. He goes, this is my wife, whose name I don't remember. I go, hi, nice to meet you. I go, this is my wife. And as he walks away, my wife goes, I didn't know you knew Conan O'Brien. And I said, there's a lot of things you don't know about me. And that's it. That's the only time I've ever looked cool.
And here's what I will say to that, Jay. I now like Conan better because having worked with Angelo for almost 30 years, no lie, once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks, somebody would walk by in the hallway and Angelo would go, who's that? And I go, they've worked here for 15 years.
Angelo, I'm just like you. I have face blindness. I can't remember faces. I can't put in the names. I'm just bad with it.
Or you don't care enough about other people, which
could be that too. And just one other thing, the fact that Conan O'Brien is now a podcaster and they made him Oscar host puts me still in the running to be an Oscar host. If this thing gets big enough, I could be the Oscar host in 10 years. You don't know, Angelo. It could happen. All right. Speaking,
I think Rhea's got a better shot, actually.
Probably. Real fast before we move on to our regular segments, I sent over an article to you guys about Toph Eggers, who is the brother of David Eggers, who wrote a book called A Heartbreaking Work of Staggering Genius. Now, David Eggers has worked in movies and television. He did that big Tom Hanks movie, The Circle, which bombed. But he's been involved in a lot of stuff. That book is a very meaningful book to me. I read it in college, and I really did think of it as a heartbreaking work of staggering genius. It was a fantastic book. And we actually have someone on the podcast who has written a memoir. Now, Toph Eggers, this article is basically Toph being mad about David co-opting his story and becoming famous off of his story. And we were talking before the show, Angelo. It struck me as like this article is just a lot of axe grinding by a lot of people who have axes to grind. I wanted to ask you, what do you think of the article? But also, as someone who's written a memoir, who owns the story? If you write about somebody and they're mad at you, do you feel bad about that? Or do you just say, no, it's my story too. I get to tell it however I want.
At the very beginning of the book, I said in my book Loud, I said, this is my version of the truth, not the actual truth, because it's what you reacted to emotionally in the moment. But I didn't hold back from, like, I trashed almost every boss that I ever worked for.
Yes.
Right? And I got back word that a couple of them weren't thrilled, right? And what I said was, too bad, write your book. In your book, you can trash me. And this article, which is great, Hollywood Reporter, it's a great article because it's one of those rare things where I didn't like David Eggers. He's a jackass. He wrote a memoir. He's into American media, and he refuses to answer any questions. No, once you're in the media, you have to answer the questions. It's what you depend on to do your job. You do it too. All right. So he's out. His brother is a whiny little weasel. All right. Fought for Christopher. This guy started his own memoir 20 years ago and bailed. Then shut up. All right. You want to get back your brother for what he wrote about you? Write your own memoir.
Exactly.
You've already got a clinch. It's going to sell because it's your brother's was a bestseller.
Yeah.
And the author's a worm too. I didn't care for him as well because he was he didn't. I don't know. He just, to me, wasn't focused enough to give me clarity on who was right and who was wrong. So I ended up hating them all.
So it's well worth reading the Hollywood Reporter. I'll put a link to it in the show notes. You can go down and look through it. Rhea, you came off pretty well in Angelo's memoir. So you liked
it. I
did.
did. I actually,
He's my hero.
I teared up when I read it. So I did come off.
But there's a reason. Because Rhea let me know before mine came out that she was writing one, and I didn't want to get trashed.
Mine is fiction. I'm working on a fiction. I do want to mention, and Angelo and I have experience with this, Hugh. Angelo, I don't know if you remember, we interviewed Michael Shure after Blindside came out, the movie, and before all of the lawsuits. So, that movie comes out, and I love that. I mean, Sandra Bullock won an Oscar, but he was portrayed in it as dumb and not knowing football. And I read his book and we brought him on and he was like, yeah, listen, I was shuttled through foster homes because obviously he was the youngest of 11. His mom had addiction issues. When she didn't have addiction issues, she took care of them, but shuttled throughout and he didn't have the education support. Didn't mean he was dumb, but he also, the youngest Tui did not teach him football by putting condiments on the table. Right. He knew football. So I just remember that story was absolutely fictionalized and that Michael Shure was not happy about it.
Yeah. Sometimes, I was going to say, sometimes the truth is not as good as the legend. So you believe the legend. Sure. Like apparently nobody ever did a line of jerseys being dropped off before the final Notre Dame home game for Rudy. He did get to play, but apparently the coach was really mad.
Is garbage. Please don't bring up Rudy.
Despise that movie. Hate it.
Film.
Really?
Oh, is that a fact? Don't do it. Don't do it.
All right, I won't bring it up. Let's cleanse the palate with some Steven Singer sorbet, ladies and gentlemen, because you might hate Rudy, but nobody hates Steven Singer. And maybe Angelo will buy me a ring.
Listen to this. I want to reenact the conversation I've had with Rhea many times in the years we worked together. Because my 25th wedding anniversary is coming up in a month. And I went to Gail. I had it out with her this past week. I said, Gail, I have to get you something big and great. And she said, absolutely not. I don't want anything for our anniversary. So I will now go immediately to Rhea. Rhea, what do I do?
You better get her something. She's lying.
Yeah.
I've told you this 1,000 times. Now, you don't have to go crazy. Like when women say that to you, when your wife or your girlfriend says that to you, they don't want you to get, to go drop $1 million on something, which you will never have to do at Steven Singer Jewelers. But and the thing is, here's the other thing. Don't ask them. Just get it. Yeah. Just go to Steven Singer. Go to their website. You don't have to deal with all the crowds this weekend, for Black Friday. You go to their website. You will find something beautiful. Do not ask your wife or your girlfriend if they want something. They do want something, but they don't want to say to you, well, God, of course I want something. I've earned it 25 years with your sorry ass, Angelo. Just get her something.
Oh, I think whatever I get, I'll have that engraved on the back. Thanks for 25 years with my sorry ass. So Steven Singer, he will give me, I'll just go to Steven and say, Steven, she's giving me a hard time. He said, look, no one would not love this. Exactly. She will understand it. Yeah. She will love it. That's why he's the best jeweler on Jewelers Row. Yeah. And that's why you got to go to IHateStevenSinger.com.
You can go to the link right in the description of this podcast. Click on it now, guys. It's Thanksgiving week. Get it done now and kick back and relax until Christmas. And you don't have to worry. You don't have to go on December 23rd going, oh my God, please find me something. All right. One person who's always prepared, never comes up short, is Rhea Hughes with our British TV segment. What do you got for us this week, Rhea Hughes?
And I was so excited, I actually emailed Angelo and Jay because I never heard of this movie. It's a 2011 movie called The Guard, starring Don Cheadle. Yes, this is the British segment, but it's actually Irish.
Right.
and Brendan Gleeson. It's a movie based in Ireland. Absolutely use the closed caption. You need it. Basically what it is Brendan Gleeson is an Irish cop, and he's vulgar. He is not, I don't, that movie was made in 2011. I'm not sure you could get away with some of the things he says in 2011 today. Don Cheadle is an FBI agent who comes over to his little town in Ireland because of drug smuggling that they're pulling up on the coast. Let me just tell you something. This movie, first of all, it got 94% critic ratings. I never heard of it back in 2011. It's phenomenal.
Wow.
It's a good, mystery, but the bad guys have amazing scenes. Don Cheadle and Brendan Gleeson, you talk about two odd couples, absolutely odd couples. I loved the movie. I thought it was really well written. It's called The Guard. I got it on Prime, but I think it's via BritBox. Critics loved it. Audience loved it. Its audience was 81%. I flat out loved the movie. And, Jay, you mentioned Don Cheadle, everything he's in, he's awesome.
He
and
never
he's awesome in this movie.
Never disappoints. The guy is as regular as a metronome. Even in a Marvel movie, he's usually the most exciting person on screen. The guy is completely underrated. Completely.
And Brendan Gleeson, the Irish guy, he's phenomenal. I had never seen him in anything before. He is so good in this movie. You will absolutely love it.
He was in something with Colin Farrell that was also a big deal a couple of years ago. Okay. But here's the thing, Rhea, unlike Hot Frosty, on your word, I guess we had talked about it. I looked at the trailer. Now that's something I want to see. That looks like a great movie. It's a great selection. Great job.
But just to be clear, no snowmen come to life in this movie. Just to be
but I will tell you here, this will get Angelo to watch it. There is a scene with Brendan Gleeson and two hookers dressed up like cops that is, a little racy.
All right, guys, I gotta go. I'll see you
guys. Speaking of smarmy, Rhea, do you have a teen selection this week?
Okay, so hopefully my son doesn't see this episode. We do not have a team segment because we had a breakup this weekend. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. There's some trouble, and I was informed late Saturday night, and I'm a mother of a 15-year-old. I've never had to deal with this before, and I didn't know what to do. So we're handling the breakup as best I can. So if you have fan mail and suggestions, I'm willing to take them.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll put the word out now. If you know how to handle a teenage breakup. It's so funny watching my wife, watch my son with girls, and the anger that my wife has for what the girls are doing to my son. And I go, you did the same thing to me. And she goes, yeah, it's a little different though. Yeah. I played games.
Here's what I will say, Jay. I had to say this and then backtrack. I loved her. And I said, I loved her, but you got to make your own decisions. But I absolutely adored her. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, no. Yeah. So he was the trigger puller.
Yes.
Oh boy. Well, hopefully he'll come to his senses, go to Steven Singer, get her something nice and patch this all up. But
he's half a Hughes. There's nothing I can change about that.
Well, good luck to both of you over the holiday weekend. I hope it works out. Angelo, what do you got for us this week?
Well, I have a confession to make. Over the past several weeks, although I have not divulged it on this podcast, I have developed an addiction. I was hoping I could. I tried 3 times, finally connected with Parks and Recreation.
Which good is a choice.
Wonderful show. And I ended up actually buying the box set. Because it was $2.95 an episode. It's unbelievable. The reason I bring this up now is not to promote Parks and Rec, although it's a really great show. The creator of it was a guy named Michael Shure.
Yep.
And Michael Shure has the #1 show on Netflix now called The Man on the Inside.
Yep.
It stars an incredibly great head dancer, right? And he basically works for a private eye and checks himself into a nursing home to find out who stole some famous ruby diamond thing or whatever. Here's the thing. It is the best 7-episode TV show I've seen in forever.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there are 8 episodes. Again, again. No, I highly recommend it. You got to see it. But again, when you get to the final episode, they're pretty much out of story again. Yeah. They solved the problem in the first 5 minutes of the 8th episode, which they could have done in the 7th. Mm-hmm. And then you got a whole lot of schmaltz. And then they hook you at the very end in the hopes they're going to do a second season.
Yeah.
But it is well worth your time. And to me, this is the best dancing's been, including Curb Your Enthusiasm, since Cheers.
Wow.
That's how good
That's high praise.
And my wife even said at one point, Rhea, she said, he's one of those rare men that gets handsomer as he gets older. He's like 76.
He really is a handsome guy.
Yeah. And then there was like a pause. And, I kind of paused. And she just turned her nose up like,
wow.
No, please. You and Ted Danson have nothing in common.
If you get her a beautiful bauble from Steven Singer Jeweler, you'll be way handsomer than Ted Danson.
That's it. Maybe that's right, Rhea. It's A Man on the Inside on Netflix, and you will love it. It's really good. It's just, again, having a little problem landing the ending, but otherwise really good.
And I just want to say, just to tag off of that, any other Michael Shure show is well worth your time. He did Brooklyn Nine-Nine and The Good Place. The man just does good, fun television, and a little bit of schmaltz, but it's worth the rest of the time that you spent. And we're going to just finish up with a quick review of Wicked, which I saw this weekend with my wife, my 2 daughters, my son, and their 2 little girl cousins. So it was a very estrogen heavy affair. My son, who was very dubious coming in, he did the thing a lot of teenage boys do where he's making fun of it because the girls are so excited for it. Well, the best way I can describe how good this movie is I turn over and look at my son about midway through, and he has shut up. He has leaned forward, and he is completely engrossed in the movie. It is a throwback to 1950s and 1960s eras musicals. Mike Chu, the director, said that he wanted the colors to pop. He did not like how dull and drab a lot of movies look today. So he made sure everything in the movie that could be tangible was as tangible as possible and painted as brightly as possible. And I'm telling you, it makes a difference. It feels like you're watching what a Gene Kelly musical would have looked like in 1945 had they had $200 million in computers. It is great. The music is great. Ariana Grande, who you know from Victorious and a whole bunch of other stuff, has a star-making turn, an unbelievable star-making turn. I give it, I would say 4.5 out of 5, but I might be on a good day inclined to go 5. Take your whole family. It is worth it. It is wonderful. Wicked.
Woo. Okay. Let's go over what we talked about today.
Yes.
Hot Frosty is on Netflix. Rhea said, do something else, but keep it on in the background. A far better Christmas movie is Love Always Santa on Amazon and the Hallmark Channel, starring our own Jay Black. Better than both, if you're looking for holidays for Thanksgiving, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is on Paramount Plus. Wheel of Fortune, which now has Ryan Seacrest and is no longer watchable at all, is available at 7:30 on every ABC affiliate all over the country. And hold on a minute. The God, which really looks great, is on Prime and Apple Plus. And that is something Rhea really recommends highly. I recommend A Man on the Inside on Netflix, and also Parks and Recs, which if you want to watch that whole series, the first season is not very good, but then it gets really good. Yeah. That's on Peacock. And Wicked, which Jay gives almost 5 stars, is in theaters now.
Can't miss. Take a friend, go. You can catch Angelo Cataldi's memoir, Loud, which pulls no punches, except for Rhea Hughes, because he loves her and also did not want to get negative in her book. You can go to angelocataldi.com or amazon.com. Check out my movie, but also if you're in the mood to buy something, go do the horror movie Tenants on Apple TV Plus. Only $9.99 to buy, cheap. Get it for all of your friends and family for Christmas. And, guys, stevensinger.com, you can't go wrong there. If, let's say, you broke up with your girlfriend and you decided it was a mistake and you want to get her back, go to Steven Singer right now. Give her a bauble and all will be well. Please continue to rate and review us and spread the word about us. And most importantly, have a really happy Thanksgiving. Eat some turkey, watch some TV, and we'll be back next week with more great TV podcast.